podcasting from my closet in northern Japan. This is Reimagining Hustle, a podcast for entrepreneurial parents creating a life where business and parenthood live peacefully in the same space. I'm your host, Roxanne Market, a mom of two, microbusiness coach, and serial entrepreneur on a journey to prove that it is possible to do what you love without sacrificing all your precious time. Let's do this.
Welcome back to Reimagining Hustle. I am already thrilled to have our guest today. I have Renae O'Neill with me. Renae, how you doing?
Hello, I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my word. I'm already so excited to have this conversation because you and I are in really similar worlds. And so this is going to be really fun. Will you tell us about you, tell us about the work you do, and also a little bit of your journey to get there?
Yeah, so obviously I'm Renae O'Neill, and I think it's one of those things where we often go into our titles first. It's like, who am I? Okay, well, I'm a wife, I'm a mum of two, and then it's like, I'm a life and business coach for mums. But it's like, there's so much more to me than those things as well. And so it's always an interesting thing when I hear people like, tell me about yourself. It's just, we go straight to like the roles we play. And I always find that very interesting. But I guess that is a huge part of my life,
Yeah.
being a mum, the fact that I'm a coach and I work with mums, so very mum orientated. But I'm really passionate about what I do in my business because, our mission actually aligns, which is why I'm so excited to be on here talking to you is really creating a life that you love and having your business be something that you can have that allows you to live the life that you're wanting to live, And I'm really big on that too, of just, creating a business that suits your life and lifestyle rather than your life having to mold around your business. So I'm very excited to be here because, we share that same passion. So it's exciting. But it's been quite the journey to get here. I'm going to be honest. I mean, I think everyone's journey is full of road bumps and detours and all the things. But I think for me, I'll be honest, COVID was a pivotal moment for me. And I know that that's something that a lot of listeners are probably going to resonate with. They'll be like, yes, me too.
Yeah.
So for the past 11 and a half years up until the sort of COVID point, I was working part-time in my local hospital and I'd been there obviously a long time and I'd always had my business sort of as my side hustle, I suppose you'd call it. So I was doing the job, I had the business and the kids, of course, the juggling all the things. And when COVID hit, obviously being that it was a health pandemic and I was working in a hospital, that threw a lot of things my way. And I really just stopped and was like, it was that point where I analyzed everything and thought, what am I doing? Like, I don't want to be here. And I'd known that for a long time. My business, I was wanting it to get to this certain stage in business. And then I was going to be like, okay, yep, now's the time to pull the plug. But I analyzed it and I was like, this is just not where I want to be. And so very quickly created an exit plan and exited out of there and went full time in my business. So yeah, it's been a journey.
Yeah. Wow. It's like having this safety net that also all of a sudden becomes this threat, like this physical threat to your health. Wow. Was that terrifying to just pull the plug like that?
Yes. It's one of those things like I'm not going to sugarcoat it or make it sound like it was this easy, blissful thing. And I skipped away happily and was like, okay. It was so scary because, I think I really had an identity around being somebody that had this job. Like, I'm somebody who works in a hospital and I have this good steady income. And I think I had a lot of my identity wrapped up in it, which that created, some struggles to leave it behind.
Yeah.
But then it's also, growing up in particular, I was told, you go to school, you get a good job, then you've got that good job and income, that security, that supports you.
Yeah.
So for me to then break away from that, go against the grain, go against what I have been, instilled in me to do was so terrifying. And I have had no one in my life that has done that. No one in my family has had a business before. So I was doing something so different to so many people around me that I'll be honest, I had a lot of people say to me, "What are you doing? We are in the middle of a potential recession. You're about to leave a steady income. What are you doing?" And I have to be very grateful and thankful for my husband, who is my biggest supporter and cheerleader. I don't know what I'd do without him because he was on my side the whole time. But, it was extremely scary. And, you know, I know what it's like to take that jump.
Yeah.
And even though as terrifying as it is and scary as it is, it was the best decision of my life. And I honestly think that when my days are over and I'm reflecting on my life, I'll still maintain that that was one of the best decisions I've made in my whole life, because I feel like in leaving that job behind, going all in on myself, I found myself through the process too. Like I had to uncover so many things and work through so much of my baggage and my limiting beliefs to get to this point. So yeah, it was scary, but my only regret is honestly, I wish I did it sooner. I don't know why I waited so long.
Yeah, you had to have that that trigger though. I feel like that the metaphorical straw to break the camel's back, right?
Yeah.
But it's so interesting too that you talk about essentially this identity crisis, right? Like it's not just this financial huge shift, right? Which is I feel like when we talk about leaving a job to really go all in on a side hustle as it were, we think like I feel like instantly our minds go to that financial point of it, but there really is this huge identity piece to it.
Mm.
How did you rediscover yourself in all of that?
I think for me, it was, we sort of touched on it in the beginning when I shared about like, who am I? It's like,
Yeah.
I thought to myself, okay, without this job, who am I? And I had to really look at that and think about that and was like, I'm this kind person, I'm a loyal friend, and like look at all the other things that I am outside of that job. And I think when we have a job, it is so much of our lives that it becomes this big part of ourselves, but we forget that we are not that role, or we are not that career that we have. We are still, I'm still Renae at my core. And
Yeah.
so it was just getting back to like, who am I? And then, for me, obviously, in leaving that employment, I had the actual physical space to start really allowing myself the time and space to just be and get back to doing the things I loved and enjoyed again. And like it was through doing these things that I kind of just found who I was again. Um, but it was a bit of a struggle, and it was like a step by step peeling back layers. And it was daunting to beginning. Like I'll never forget. I was somewhere and I was introduced to someone, and they asked me, what do you do? And it was the first time I ever had to not mention my job. It was like, I don't have that anymore. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so scary. So it's like all these little things that had come about that made me really just stop and be like, yeah, who am I? So it's just an interesting thing, I think, when you step out of a role, and that identity you'd formed in being in that role, and just come back to like, who am I? What do I love and enjoy? What are the things that light me up? What are the things that I value? And just coming back to all of those things, and just really sitting down and spending time thinking about those things, and then in through doing actions of doing things, you just find out who you really are again. And yeah, I've come to re-love Renae again.
That makes me so happy. So what kind of things does Renee outside of business do? What makes you you?
It's that's a really good question. I think it's just all of my values wrapped up. It's like, I'm big on connection. Like
Yeah.
connection is so important to me. It's even things like what we're doing here. I'm connecting with you and your audience, and it's just coming back to all the things that I loved and enjoyed. And even things like, when I was a kid, I used to love to sing and dance. So it's like even just making time and space for doing things that I used to love and enjoy that I didn't have time for anymore. Or I don't know, you just slowly, I think as you get older and you transition from like childhood into adulthood, and then you go through life and become a mom and do all these things, you have so much less time that you just slowly lose little parts of yourself along the way. And so it's sort of picking up all them pieces again and bringing them back together. So like, if you, I mean, you can't really come past my house because I live in paddocks and things. But, if you were to look in my lounge room window, you'd probably see me dancing around, singing, acting like a total kid. And I think it's just the playfulness is something that I've definitely found again. Um, and yeah, it's something that I love and enjoy having back as a part of me again.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I love it. So, okay, so I want to ask you a question about the word success then. So I feel like you really
Mm.
kind of have hit on these ideas, right? Of when you were working at the hospital, when you were essentially like following that checklist that cultural or societal expectations gave to you. And now you've made this huge shift and you found more joy, more of yourself in life. What does success look like to you?
That's really interesting because I think what my original definition of success is and what I now think it is are very different. I thought that, and it played out in me leaving my job because I was like, I have to be earning this amount of money consistently and then I can leave the job because in my eyes, I deem success being a certain figure,
Hmm.
earning a certain figure. And my definition of success now is very different. To me, being successful means that you are taking action. You are stepping outside your comfort zone and you are doing the things. It means that you are chasing that goal and dream that you're wanting to chase. It means that you are really living life, like really getting in and being a part of it and taking the action. And I mean, a part of that is not playing it safe. It's doing the big bold moves and um it's also creating the impact that you're wanting to create. It is success just is very different to how I thought it would be. And of course, like, there can be financial success, but
Sure.
I think my original thought of success was the monetary side of it. But to me, I see success in a whole nother light now where it's like, I am successful as I am today because I have achieved what I have and it's led me to this point. And just I think one thing that I've done that's helped sort of really solidify that I am successful now and who I am and what I'm doing is keeping an evidence log. So every time I have a small win, a big win, I'm writing it down. And its small win could be I got another subscriber to my podcast. It could be I had another follower on social media, just one, it can
Hmm.
be small things, but it can also be the big things, I get to be on this amazing podcast talking to you today. I've just signed a new client. And so creating a log of evidence that supports that you are successful. I did the scary bold move of creating a group coaching program and I had people sign it up. Like it's just this opportunity to reflect, which is always nice, but it's this proof of you're successful and you're doing it. And that just helps you, I guess, it's another identity thing, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
your identity is I am successful. And I think that's really powerful and it has such a flow on effect as well.
What a brilliant idea to like actually take not just like a mental note, but an actual note of logging that those every little nugget of success. It reminds me actually of something I had a therapist tell me a couple of years ago when my brain kind of would tell myself stories of like, oh, well, I think this is happening or this is happening. And she would say, okay, what does the evidence suggest? And she would force me to pause and look at the evidence, right? And that's exactly what you've just described, but with success in business or even just in life. What a brilliant idea. Where do you keep your log? Can I ask?
Yeah, so I actually have mine. I use Trello as my
Yes.
project management tool. So that's also linked to my phone. So if I'm out somewhere and I have a realization, doesn't even have to be like these obvious things. It could just be I've realized something like a limiting belief I've had and I'm about to start working through that. I'll just pop it in my phone or, even if it's just a piece of paper, it doesn't really matter. But
Yeah.
I'm a digital person and I like to have things close by so I can just quickly do them. But
Same.
yeah, it's just that has been really helpful. And I think it's always good to just prove to yourself that you are doing, the thing. You are successful as you are, and you can build upon that.
Oh, I am inspired by this idea. I think I'm gonna have to start doing this one. I love that. I love that idea. All right, so you're a mom as well. Tell us, you have 2 kids, is that right? Okay.
Yes. So I have a 6-year-old and an almost 10-year-old, which honestly, that's starting to freak me out a little bit. I realized that the other day. I was like, she's 10 soon. And then I was like, I've been a mum for 10 years. How has this happened?
My oldest turned 10 this summer, and I went through the same thing. Like, what happened? How has a decade gone by of this? So I feel that. I feel that. How has being a parent during this journey of yours changed you as a person?
Oh, massively. I only said that to my husband recently. We've been together 14 years. And
Mhm.
I said to him, I am such a different person from when you met me to who I am today. I feel like at my core, I'm not, those
Yeah.
values that we touched on before, they've not really shifted. They've always remained the same. But as a person, I'm just so different. Like, I feel like when I became a mum nearly 10 years ago,
Yes.
um, I feel like motherhood cracked me open. I feel like I really stepped into, I guess, all these big things that occur in your life do. They crack you open and they make you assess things, and you change and you grow and you evolve. But I think when I became a mum, everything shifted because all of a sudden it's not about me anymore. I have this little person that relies on me for everything, literally.
Yeah.
um, and everything didn't just become about me, it became about her. And, my whole reason for being and everything just, I think, becomes so much clearer. And I think in business in particular, it's like, I know what's important and I know how valuable my time is in particular. I think time is a big thing. I don't want to take time away from my family. I want my family to always be my priority.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes we can get caught in I think we can get caught in feeling like we have less time because we're a mum for our business. Whereas I like to reframe that and be like, you know, I get to use the pockets of time that I want to in my business, and I make it worth it. I make use of every minute of my time in my business because my time is so valuable. And so I feel like in business, it's a bit of a superpower because I'm so productive in my business. I have, an hour of my time. I will get stuff done in that hour because I'm like, I just need to get that done because I want to, go back and do things with the kids. And it's been interesting, I think, business as a mum, because I just know it looks so different to other people who have businesses who don't have the juggle of the kids at the moment.
Yeah.
It's not to say that there's a right way or a wrong way, you do you, but um it just looks different, I think, business when you're a mum, and
Mhm.
especially when you've got younger kids. I mean, mine are at school now, so I've got that amazing flexibility of while they're at school, I can run my business, but it wasn't always the case. It didn't always look like that. I did have a little one, crawling around at one point while I was doing my business. So it's just been interesting, but I definitely think it's a superpower to be a mum in business.
It's a hot take and I love it. I'm absolutely here for it. Have you ever experienced guilt around living in both of these worlds of parenting and entrepreneurship at the same time?
Gosh, yes. I feel like mum guilt is a big thing, and I think it can it can really hold you back
Yeah.
because you can easily be, you're spending time with your kids and you're thinking about your business. So your mind's on the business, but you're physically there with your children, and then vice versa. You can be in your business, but your mind's thinking about your kids and worrying about your kids and all the things. So it's definitely there. And honestly, I don't think it will ever fully go away, because I think when you're a mom, you love your children so much. You want the best for them, that you are always going to be doubting yourself along the way and things. So I think mum guilt's sort of always there, but I think it can be managed. And how I manage that is creating really good boundaries and being really present when I'm in my certain roles. So when I'm with the kids, like, 3 o'clock comes, I'll pick them up from school and I will be with them and in my mum role until, 7:30 p.m. when they go to bed. And during that time, I'm strict on no work. So I will not be on social media responding to people. I will not be talking to clients. I will not be recording podcasts, doing those things so I can be really present with the kids. And it does take practice. I mean, there's no light switch moment where it's like, okay, I'm not going to have mum guilt anymore because I'm just
Right.
going to be really present with the kids. But it's a practice thing, and bit by bit, you'll feel better about that. And it's the same as when I'm in my business, because I have these very structured moments of now I'm in my business, now I'm with my kids. And I make, when I'm with my kids, really quality time. I tend to feel a lot less mum guilt than I once did because I feel like my kids are getting what they need.
Mhm.
I'm feeling fulfilled in what I'm doing in my business, but also as a mum, I'm like, I'm getting this quality time with them. So it doesn't feel like it's such a strong part of what I experience anymore. But
Mhm.
that's not to say that I didn't experience, a lot back in the day of juggling everything.
Sure. It's like trying to find that balance and that
Yes.
and figure out those boundaries for yourself. It's interesting too.
Yeah.
You talk about, the quality time. I feel like when I first became a mother, it was this idea of like, well, I'm with my kids all the time. It has to be nonstop quality time. And the longer I've been a mom, the more I'm like, a little bit of quality time goes a long way.
I'm huge on that because I think you've doing exactly what you just said there. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. And 15 minutes one on one with your child makes such a difference. You can be with your children for a whole entire day and actually not be spending a whole lot of time with them. And that's very different to you might be a working mum who's running the business and doing all the things, and you don't have a lot of free time. And I truly do understand that. That was me at one point.
Yeah.
So it could just be that like something that I do with my kids is of an evening. I've only got the two, but I will spend half an hour with each one of them on their own. So before bed, they each get half an hour of my dedicated one-on-one time.
Mhm.
And they get to choose what we do. It might be they want to read a certain book, play a certain game, just sit and chat, whatever it might be. But, I know that even on those busy days where I don't have a lot of time, I know that I'll still get that one-on-one time with them at the end of the day where we can just be together. But yeah, it's definitely a quality over quantity, and there's no right or wrong. And I think that's something to think about as well. It's like there's no right way or wrong way. It's just do the best with what you've got, with how you can. And, when you're with your kids, do your best to be with them in those moments, but definitely don't feel that you need to be spending every waking moment with them because that would be so overwhelming.
It really would be. It really would be. I love that idea too of having that dedicated time with them. What a great practice to instill. That's wonderful.
Mm.
Renee, what do you wish people knew about being a parent and an entrepreneur simultaneously? Like if you could just like sit them down and be like, I just wish I could like knock this into your head, what would you tell them?
Oh my gosh, I feel like there's so many things.
Right? I know. I know.
I think one thing that I've come across and I've had experience with lately with some of my clients is feeling like they want to give up in business because it all becomes too hard. Um, and I know that when you have a business, you go through moments where you feel like, what am I doing? Like, I should just throw in the towel now because it can feel like a lot. And I think when you are a parent, even more so because you've just got a lot on your plate.
Mhm.
Um, but I think it is so important to make sure that you are feeling fulfilled in your desires as well. And so, quite often for us, having our business does fulfill us. It's something that we are passionate about and we enjoy and we feel really lit up by. And I think it sets such a great example for our children as well. Like, our kids are watching our every move, they are looking up to us. And so, for us to show our kids, you know what, I can create something for myself and, I can create an impact and, I feel fulfilled in what I'm doing. And I think it's so inspiring for kids to be able to watch and see. Um, and so I think my biggest thing is just please don't give up. Like I know that there's going to be hard days and I know there are going to be days where you're like, this is just all too much. But the reason you wanted to start your business at some point is still probably there, and it's calling you for a reason. There's a reason why you felt like you wanted to start this particular business or have this business. And so I think connecting back to your why and your reasons of starting is something to always anchor into in those moments where you want to give up, because it will happen. It's probably happened numerous times. But I think just don't give up and know that it really is possible to be a present parent and also have a successful different business. I just think it looks different compared to the season of life that you're in. And I think one thing that motherhood has definitely taught me is surrender. Just surrendering into the season that you're in. When my kids were really, really little, my business was something that, I couldn't physically put a lot of time and energy and effort into. And so just looking at the season of life that you're in and, doing what you can with what you've got, but you can definitely do it and don't give up is my thing that I'd love for people to take away is just please don't give up. Pivot, change directions, take a break even, but don't give up, because there's a reason that you've been called to do whatever it is that you're doing in business.
What's funny, Renae, is that in a few minutes, I'm going to ask you for a pep talk, but I feel like that was the pep talk that I needed today. And I appreciate that so much. Oh, Renae, I want to ask you a question about the name of the podcast. So I named my podcast Reimagining Hustle.
Yes.
And the reason that I named it this is because when I first started my business, I was not a parent and I loved hustle culture. Like it was life, right? I loved the feeling of it. I loved the hustle, 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 go, 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 work hard, like low sleep being a badge of honor. I totally bought into all of that nonsense. And then I had my daughter, my 10-year-old, and my whole world stopped. My whole world stopped. And I knew instantly that what I was doing was not sustainable. And so I've been on this quest to reimagine this idea of hustle since then. So I would love to know from you, how do you reimagine the idea of hustle?
That's such a good one, because I think it's actually very common for people who have businesses before becoming mums that they are all about their business. It's like their business is their first baby,
Oh, yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's taking up all your time and your energy and your focus. It's something you love and adore. And then all of a sudden you have this beautiful little being that is almost replacing that. So
Yep.
it is very different. But hustle is definitely something that I don't subscribe to, because as a mum, I just don't have that capability to do so. But I think for me, it's all about just making sure that you are taking the moves. You're doing the things. You're in business. You're working towards achieving those goals that you want to achieve. I think you can still be somebody who is making big, bold moves in business without the hustle side of it, because I think it depends. Everyone's version of hustle is different. I
Yep.
see hustle as this thing of like, go, go, go until you're almost burnt out.
Yeah.
And I think as mums in particular and in business, we need to really make sure that we are filling up our own cup, because we have so many people that we need to give to. And one thing that I like to think about is, as a mom, you don't just want to like fill up your own cup. You want it so it's overflowing, and you give your overflow to everyone else and keep that cup just for yourself. So reimagining hustle to me is all about still doing the things, still going after your goals and dreams, still taking action, doing those needle moving tasks, but also taking care of you throughout that process, and making sure that you are still a bit of a priority.
Mhm.
And you're still, fulfilling your needs at the same time.
What a great way to reimagine that idea. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Okay, Renae, will you give us a 30-second pep talk for other parents on this entrepreneur journey?
Yeah, I think it really is just what I was sharing before, in just not giving up, because I just know that we do experience times in moments where life gets hard. Life throws a lemon at you, or a whole bag of lemons sometimes, and it can feel all too much. And so I know that sometimes the first thing we go to is like, do we put the handbrake on the business? Do we throw the business out the window? But my thing is just don't give up. Keep going after your goals and dreams. Keep doing everything that you're wanting to do. And also I think too, for the mums listening, is just know that you're doing a damn good job. You are doing such an incredible job. And the fact that you are even listening to this podcast tells me that you're a pretty phenomenal woman because you are taking time to, you know, work on yourself, your personal development, you're into growth, you're wanting to create this business and this life for yourself, but for your family. And so I think, it's a moment for you to really stop and go, you know what, actually, I am doing a good job and give yourself a pat on the back because being a mum's really bloody hard, let's be honest. And running a business is really hard. And so putting them together, it can be a lot. And so just know that the fact that you are waking up in the morning, you're being a mum, you're looking after kids, you're running your business. I mean, that's pretty damn good in my book.
Mm. Renae, I knew we were going to have a fun time today, but I'm feeling like inspired and uplifted and like goosebumps in the best sort of way. Thank you for that pep talk. We need more of you. Tell us where we can find you online.
Yeah, so Instagram's probably my favorite place to hang out. So you can find me at Renae.O'Neill. And I too have a podcast as well. So I have the Mum Boss podcast, which is very similar to you in the sense that it is for the mums who are aspiring to have a business or already have a business and just helping you be that present mum you're wanting to be and have that successful business. Because I really do believe that you can have both. It's just, looking at ways that you can make that happen for you in the season of life that you're in and, arming yourself with those strategies and those tools and tips so you can make that happen for yourself. So yeah, come over to Instagram and let me know that you've listened and tag us both and let us know what your biggest takeaway is. I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic. So go give her a follow, go listen to the podcast, go check Renae out. Renae, this has been just absolutely incredible, inspiring for me. And I appreciate so much the gift of your time and your wisdom as well. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I have loved chatting with you. I could talk to you all day.
I know, I feel the same. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for listening to Reimagining Hustle with Roxanne Merkett. If you like the show and want more, check out reimagininghustle.com and please leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back next week with another episode. See you soon.